Welcome to Out Loud, everyone. And we have a very special guest joining us this episode from Canada. You're on the West Coast right now, I believe. Indigenous artist, Juno nominated Wonder Kid, Jayli Wolf. Jayli, welcome to Out Loud.
Thank you for having me. I actually was just checking out your website, and I wanted to say that I love the branding. I love how vibrant it is. Purple's my favorite color. So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
yeah.
I will get my friend Zach help me with the branding because I get very scatterbrained and I get very focused on things. So he helped me kind of shake it up and say, just go one route. And he's good that way.
That's
But thank
very
you.
important. Yeah, I really loved it. I wish I could have purple everything, to be honest.
Well, you know what? You're an artist and you can have purple whatever you want. Uh, so first of all, as I said, Juno nominated artist. That's from your first EP, and you have had. I mean, first to get nominated for a Juno, but you've had your music out and videos out, and you've really taken kind of control of your direction as an artist. Now you have a brand new song out, "Holding On," and another new video, which you've also directed. It's it's a phenomenal song, first of all. And I do have to say that I was sitting and I was listening to it and I went back to the EP, the first EP, and I was listening to it and I was like, okay, so I'm getting essences of Sarah McLachlan in there at different times, with also PJ Harvey and Fiona Apple. Like there's edge, but there's such a melody that you craft through your music. As I said, the song is called Holding On. Tell us about it. I've already dove into it so much myself, but for people who are watching, tell us about it and I guess the process of creating it.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much. Those are great compliments. I always have loved Sarah McLachlan. So creating the video, I'll talk about that. I recently bought my childhood farm, and so the whole music video, I wanted to shoot it here on this land because I was like, this is perfect. We already have a barn, we had the fields, and I was sitting and just meditating and listening to the song, and I thought, okay, what does this mean for me? And for me, the song, the visual is very much about a time in my life where I felt like there wasn't much in the world that I was holding on to except for one person that I saw all the good in, and I love them so much, but I realized that's a lot of pressure to put on one person when I'm going through depression and I don't really want to be here, and it's like you're the one thing that's like holding me here. So it's the realization that that's not a healthy place to be, and I needed to heal myself and then come back to that relationship if that was, still on the table. And I just really needed to like focus on healing instead of putting that pressure on someone else. So that's what the music video is about. And I kind of saw it all in my head, and for some reason I just pictured crows, and I thought, oh, I could be a scarecrow, and sort of representing like different cycles and death and coming back to life and letting go in the fire of like, burning the past. And so it just sort of like saw it in my mind, and then I storyboarded it and thought, okay, great, I'm going to walk around the farm and pick out locations, and then it all just sort of came together in my mind first. And then it was so fun. We did the shoot in about 3 days. I had one of my best friends come and help me style from Vancouver, Poinsettia. And yeah, we just had a little small but mighty team, and it was super rewarding, fun
It
to visuals.
so let me break down a couple of things from my perspective. Song wise, there's so much lyrical imagery that's in the song, and there's a bit of a journey of this push pull of self love, but also trying to discover purpose. And what your purpose is. And I don't think we talk as people, as humans, enough about we put the message out there of self-love, 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 but the purpose, self-purpose is something we don't talk as much about. And I was really kind of struck by that because it is something that we really kind of need to take on board for ourselves, is like, where do we see our purpose? What do we see ourselves as, a person, and wherever we are, whether it's in a community or in, an industry. So I loved that.
That's
Then when I watch the video, there's so, first of all, cinematography wise is, gosh, I don't want to swear, but freaking beautiful. The smokiness, just how, there's the blurriness that kind of comes in. You have really bright moments, but then you have these dusky moments. And that image of you, potentially you at some points, because you don't know right away if you are the scarecrow or
right.
it's just a scarecrow. And then when you realize that you're the scarecrow and that it's the scarecrow sitting at the piano, I'm like, there's just, it kind of goes all over and everywhere, and it kind of just shoots off. And I think it's stunning.
Thank
um
you.
I really, really, really do. And the reason I mentioned Sarah McLachlan is because there's a tone to your voice that becomes really emotive,
Mm,
and it's comforting in your voice. But
that's
then you
cool.
switch it around, and this darkness kind of, and this edge kind of creeps in, where I'm kind of like, oh, we're going places.
That's
And
awesome.
when you sit down now as a director of a video, how, like, do you start out and say, okay, this is kind of what I want the shots to be, this is what I really want to capture over here? Do you storyboard like that, or do you just kind of dive in and be like, it's just whatever comes?
I do storyboard. I meditate and I just listen to whatever track I'm going to be working on, and I see the visuals in my mind first, and then I will write it, sometimes like just write words. Like I remember writing juxtaposition. I wanted the surrealist world, and then I wanted the more real. So that's like that light and that dark. Like when I go into the scarecrow world, it's more fantasy. So I remember writing words, and then I remember, I'm not like, I have a hard time drawing stickmen. So I'm not a great illustrator by any means, but I do remember, just writing the scene out, like just making the mountains and seeing like where I'd want the scarecrow and how I want that shot to look, and then punching in. And yeah, I pretty much always have done that. That way. I think ahead of time, and then I get all of the props together and do all the production for it, and then set the days.
I love that. And again, the song on its own is so strong, but the visual just takes it to so many different places, and it's so beautiful. I love that sweeping kind of look that you have. And then you have, and the woman that's in the video with you, you have this presentation of this white rose. And me being an English major back in the day, maybe I'm really getting into things, but I'm like, it's kind of like, for me, it's a little bit like a presentation of love, but it isn't necessarily romantic love. It
Mm,
could be romantic love, it could be familial love, it could be a friendship, or it could be just an understanding, this light and dark, and almost like a love story between, despair and hope and light and dark, and or people. There's a
yeah.
lot that's in there. Now, did I go way too far?
That's so awesome, because honestly, I remember thinking, what do, each color rose mean? Like I wanted to know the symbolism before I chose the color, and I wanted to know that also, like, because it was kind of a little bit of a period piece inspired. So it's like what naturally grew back then, which was white and pink, and then I thought, yeah, what kind of symbolism would that mean? And then how can I lean into that more through the other? I always do that with every detail. Like if you look at anyone, like Lead Me, my music video for Lead Me, I have a lot of little Easter eggs that have a lot deeper symbolism than you'd probably think. So for me to watch it back, I'm like, I know what I was trying to say. Probably no one else got it, but it's cool that you actually are thinking that way. You're like, oh, what does the rose mean? And that's amazing. That makes me so happy.
It,
And also, thank you for saying that you like my direction and everything, because I really want to get into filmmaking one day. So this is sort of like my practice before I start like making short films and features one day.
you've got to, because I
Thank
have to commend you on. It can be daunting, right? To try to have a vision in your head and put it down on film. It's hard enough to just explain it sometimes. but then to capture it on film, it's pretty awesome when you can see your vision kind of come to life. And I think that, as I said, the cinematography is gorgeous in it, and the color choices and just what is highlighted by light and what's not. And it plays. It's like a little dance
Oh,
in a way.
you got all that. That means a lot that you were seeing it that way.
I have to say that if you know, directing is something that you are looking at, you have a real sharp eye.
Thank
You
you.
directed this, but you also directed Children of the Government, which a very different type of song, very different type of, you know, filming, and it shows a, how you have a variety, like a variance to your eye,
Totally.
and where so incredibly personal, both of them, but for very different reasons. Um, and I will say, I think that some people could look at Children of the Government and think that it's a political statement, of which there's always politics surrounding, you know, the topic. And, you know, whether or not we're talking about Canada or any other country and Indigenous cultures and, you know, government involvement, of course, there's politics in there. But there's also a story that's presented there of just coping and surviving, regardless of, you know, what was happening, you know, and how government was involved, just like that family structure.
Yes.
With that, so was one of them, I guess, what I'm trying to say is one harder than the other, but I'm sure they had their own challenges or whatnot.
Mhm.
um but did you find it, I guess, you know, coming off of, you know, directing Children of the Government, maybe this one's a little bit easier because
Yeah, it was.
was it?
Oh yeah, like first, I mean, so many reasons. I was less emotional. Whereas Child of the Government, I was very like in it, and it felt so raw and like bringing up, stories about my dad and just working with him because I had him in the music video too, and it all just felt so personal. And holding on is personal, but it's like it's just a very different feel. And that music video was 4 days, 5 days of filming. I storyboarded so much. I remember thinking, okay, the symbolism with the tree and the blood. And I remember just thinking, like, how am I going to do this? Because there's so many different locations. I had a lot of extras and different actors, and also directing while I'm in the video. So it was just a lot, whereas this one was like me and a girl that I have loved since high school, April. She's amazing. I'm so glad I got to have her in the music video. And I should say a woman, not a girl. And just like on my childhood farm, where I'm like, I have all of the control because I could just film, whenever I really wanted. I had the barn, I had everything, so much easier. There was a few things that were difficult, but overall it's like I just had all the control because I owned the locations, which is helpful, very helpful.
Yeah, when you have the space, it truly makes a big difference from a monetary standpoint, true.
Yes,
And logistics of being able to get permissions and stuff. Um,
exactly. We could do whatever we wanted and
but
stay up
it's
late.
it really does show how, you know, technically you are a very adept writer when it comes to music. You are a storyteller. You're not creating music that's just on a whim. There may be elements in it that are lighter, but it's
Yeah.
all coming from someplace, and it's easy to recognize that. But what I'll say from a direct, and I love film, I love music videos. I've always loved music videos because I love to see the vision of somebody being able to kind of be brought to life.
Me too.
Um, you just have a really, you have a point of view that I think is really strong. So please keep on with that, because we need more of that, and we need more women directors. We
Yeah.
need, you know, I was speaking earlier today about, you know, women producers in the industry and how they haven't been invited to the table very often, so they're making their own table. They have to, and we need more of that, because the point of views are, you know, we need those experiences brought to the table.
I totally agree. I 100% agree.
I
I love
have to make a little bit of a connection. There is a UK artist by the name of Katie Brooks, and I don't know if you've ever heard of her or not. Please check her out.
Okay, I
She's got
will.
an incredible backstory. She was raised in a cult,
Yeah.
and a lot of religion and religious kind of persecution, and just, you know, a lot of heaviness that was put in. She
Yeah.
left and she kind of got out, and being a lesbian and being part of the LGBT community, there was a lot that she had to kind of work through.
Yeah.
And she has put it into her music in such really incredible ways that reminds me of you, because you've been very open about your history and your story, but you've shared it with us through music, and through music that I think is relatable. And I would say the same thing about Katie, where, you know, it's you've brought us into the experience a little bit, and in ways that I think that people can understand and hear, that they can actually digest it. And I think that that is a real, it's hard to do because it's your own personal life and your experiences, but you've made it a story, not a story because it's true, but you put it into a story platform that people can really, I think, take something from. I'm curious about response to you and your music from others who may have kind of really got something from that, or have felt the same kind of way, and how you've have those experiences that you've had with other, with either with other artists or with just fans.
Yeah. Okay, so first I really want to check out that artist. It was Katie.
Katie Brooks.
Okay, I will definitely check her out. That sounds incredible, and definitely I can relate to a lot of that. Um, as far as when fans or just listeners message me with their own stories because they can relate to things, I mean, that's the best part, and it's always unexpected. It's just so it makes me feel very connected, and just it opens up my heart because I feel like there, maybe there is a reason for me to continue to make art when I hear messages from people being like, hey, it's so wonderful to feel understood in this way. I get a lot of ex Jehovah's Witnesses that message me and say, tell me about their story of leaving the religion and losing, all their family and friends and feeling very alone and isolated. And that is something I can relate to. And I do try to talk about that in my music and my art. I think I could even do more, but sometimes I get tired. I get just I don't know, I get drained, and that's why I'm kind of in this place right now where when I'm writing, I'm doing poetry, but I'm kind of just like having a bit of fun. Um but yeah, I just go through waves of it. But definitely that is the most rewarding part for sure.
Who are the artists that I guess that are standing out to you that you're taking, you know, inspiration from, or are really connecting to, that are out there now?
So I have always loved Connor Oberst. I don't know if have you listened?
I'm familiar.
Yeah, so just the way that he is a poet and he's extraordinary with his lyrics. And I remember that was the first time I really felt like, whoa, I really want to talk like that in my music. Like I want to be able to paint a picture like that. He really inspires me sort of beyond. I love Keaton Henson. I love the way, again, it's very poetic lyricist that I'm super into. And I feel like I could do more of that. I could definitely work as a songwriter and sort of wish that I could like live up to that. But those people really inspire me.
They're good names to have on a list for sure. And I'm, you know, when you think about that, and I think about spoken word too, and how, you know, the melody can come through just with words without actual, you know, pieces of music, you know, I think that those are, and I get that from you, from your music as well, because as you listen to, especially the EP, you get a sense of, you are, you know, diving into different, I guess, buckets of
Mhm.
experiences, and you're really trying to, you know, bring across, you know, what your experiences are, but in a way that matches, you know, to your lyrical kind of, and musically lyrical uh, experiences, or you know, what you're driven by.
Yeah,
So there,
it's
it's,
beautiful.
yeah, that poetry that you're talking about is, I guess, what I'm trying to kind of, you know, explain and express, because I think sometimes people think poetry, it's going to be, we're rhyming or whatnot, but
Yeah.
really it is about, an elevated form of just storytelling and bringing it to people in a different way. And I think that whether or not you think you could be doing more, I think you're doing it.
Thank you.
Um, I think it's going to be really interesting to see as you find more maybe comfort or having different experiences, how you take it on and how it kind of just, continues to grow and you continue to grow.
Thank you. Can I share something with you?
Absolutely.
So there was, I think, a week ago now, I finished my last, like the last poem for my debut poetry book, and I'm so excited. I'm gonna be putting that out soon. Not, I don't know the date, but I'm just so pumped about it because it's just something that's been bringing me a lot of healing and joy. So I can't wait to put
I
that
think
out.
poetry is making a comeback. I think at one point in time you used to see a lot of poetry around, and again, the old English guy, you used to see a lot, and you studied it, and it was out there. It was a lot more prevalent, and people talked about it more. And then for some reason, it kind of went away or wasn't as chic or whatnot. And you would hear poetry slams and stuff like that, and competitions and different nights like that. But to me, poetry is really starting to kind of make a comeback, especially through music. And I love seeing that because I think that it's such a different kind of art form. And for you to also have a book coming out of poems and poetry, I'm excited by that. That excites me because when you read it without music, it takes on it's
Oh, it's
open to
totally different.
interpretation.
Oh, totally.
Your
Yeah.
emotion becomes the driving force of it, of what you're taking from it. And I love that.
Yes. That is why it's so cool. I love the written word.
So congratulations on that. Now you
Thank
may
you.
not have a date for the book, but I know that you don't have a date for this, but I have a curious question. First EP, again, Juno nominated. Second EP, when are you thinking?
This summer. This
This
summer.
summer?
Yes. Yeah. I'll have another single coming out very soon, and then I'm gonna be dropping the EP in the summer. And I'm actually shooting a music video tomorrow, for the next song.
And now I know that you don't really do live performances, but do you think that there's any in the future?
I think so. I think it's just like I was acting for 4 years and it
Mhm.
was back to back. It was a lot. I was working 16-hour days. I felt very overwhelmed with
Yeah.
just being able to like get in the studio, write music, take care of some administration stuff and balance everything. I was going crazy. I was like, I cannot take on one more thing. But now that I've had time to decompress and I'm on the farm, I'm gardening, I feel like I'm definitely getting my energy back and we'll see. Yeah, I think so.
I think you need to document the farm. I think that, your gardening and everything like that. I think that that's something I think that your fans would be very interested in because I do not have a green thumb. I would say I have a gray thumb. With rock, I can put a rock here and there. I'm not great with the gardening, but when I watch people garden and when they talk about, why they're choosing different things, right? It
Yeah.
it really explains to me a lot about how people think and how people, feel about things. So I think maybe gardening too. You may have an entire another thing on HGTV at some point in time,
Yeah.
gardening with Jayli. So,
It's very healing. It's very healing. I love working with all the colors. It's just such a great way to have color in your life and the smells, it just feels great. I really
you
do love
you're going to be a whole industry all of your own.
it.
Thank you. Listen, this has been fantastic, and I am so excited by the song and the video. I'm excited for what comes next. And I'm just excited for that second Juno around when it comes. Listen, I don't think that and we'll do this just to be on the safe side, but I think I think you're an artist that is out there that is pushing the definition of music in our country by reclaiming just some of what it means to be an artist and not having the industry tell you what it is, but just being out there and creating your work, your artistry. And I think it resonates with people. So I'm so happy for everything that you've had happen for you so far. And I just can't imagine what's about to come next.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was so nice to talk to you today.
It was, listen, anytime, the door is always open.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.